What's going on there, guys? Good morning and good afternoon to some out there. It's the Earthmaster here on this finally Friday, end of the week, start of the weekend. 11/11/2022 is the date. A lot of cool numbers there today. It's about 10:06 a.m. California time. Latest quake shows a 1.5 up here just outside the Italy area. We did see quite a bit of earthquake activity ramp up overnight, including a pretty large earthquake out around the Tonga area. Now, this is upstream from our previous earthquake activity we've seen over the last, about 2 days ago. We had some major deep movement into the Fiji area, down dip, downstream here of the Tonga Trench. Got to remember, this deeper earthquake activity does add and build strain up here along the subduction zone itself. And if there's enough strain, which it looks like there was, we see these large earthquakes striking out here around Tonga, which are much shallower than the deeper activity we've seen here a couple days ago. This pull up the last 7 days, 4.5 and above. Excuse me again. Goodness, there's that deeper activity that we were looking at around the Fiji area. Kicked off here about 2 days ago. Had a pretty good swarm of deep activity, 665 kilometers deep for a 7.0 into the area around the Tonga Trench, Kermadec Trench area. And there was a few of them, quite a few deep earthquakes, even up here just outside of Tonga to the west, but down dip into the Tonga Trench. We've seen a 5.3 and a 4.5. One of those down there, 561 kilometers deep. So, got to remember, again, I'm just going to kind of point out the subduction zones here. That's going to be the areas where the one plate's sliding underneath one another. And in this case, you got the Pacific plate here interacting with the Australian plate with these two arrows pointing, and that extends up here as well. General plate motion is going to be with these arrows. So there's a lot of dynamics here taking place, a lot of slip rate, high accumulated slip rate, by the way, and that's why we've seen that activity today up around the Tonga area. Deeper movement here from a couple days ago, adding just enough strain here up to the Tonga region at the surface for that 7 pointer that we've seen today. Originally came in as a 7.5. Looks like that got downgraded a little bit to a 7.3. And following that earthquake, we've had a little bit of migration here to the north. And this is kind of what we want to keep an eye on, because this could be pinpointing to something possibly much larger brewing in the area, or at least maybe possibly a similar size quake along this area. Now remember, we did see a lot of deep movement here. We were watching this area upstream. I think we noted that on one of the update videos to watch this area. There's a couple different things that happen when we see the deeper activity in this region. We either see a large earthquake up here like we did see today along the Tonga Trench, Kermadec Trench, or we see the migration of the pressure transfer almost immediately here to the west-northwest, because the general plate movement there shows us where it's going. Let me pull up this here, see if I can draw on here. Today's earthquake right around here. We had all that deeper, much deeper earthquake movement right about here in this area south of Fiji. Stress definitely building upstream here along the locked area, and that's kind of that. It took that turn. That's where we've seen the largest earthquake activity following the deep movement around the Tonga area. But that second option I was talking about, sometimes we see a lot of it. This will kind of remain quiet here along the subduction zone, but we'll see that activity really ramp up here to the west, Papua New Guinea area, Solomon Islands. But that didn't happen. So it went with the most strain, the most area of built-up pressure, and that was around the Tonga area. And that's something to watch, though. Here with this movement, let's see here. Got some, most of this activity we've seen following the 7.3 has been roughly about the same depth there, 17 to 26 kilometers deep. The 7.3 came in as a 24 kilometer deep earthquake, And that did trigger a tsunami advisory, by the way. No mention about it from the USGS as far as a summary goes. A lot of times this agency will put out a little summary in regards to what happened. But here's a look at historical seismic data, folks, and I don't think I need to pinpoint that seismic activity is major here across this region. It doesn't take years and years and years of stress built up to produce a major earthquake with slip rates super high. Here on this map, plate motion 5 centimeters per year. Normally those are in mm. Greater than 5 cm per year in portions of the subduction zone here, and even greater up here around the Kuril-Kamchatka Trench and Japan Trench. That's why I'm saying we're due for a big one up there in that area. But yeah, if you look on this map here, all the white ones, all these white circles are upstream from the deeper activity. The deeper activity is going to be in the dark circles here. That's where we've seen all that deeper movement here a couple days ago. This is this zone right here gets some of the deepest earthquakes on the planet, and kind of where it all begins, I think. We always start to see a cycle of earthquakes around the Pacific Plate once we start with this deeper movement. It either triggers upstream here, or it triggers back over here to the west with that westward pressure movement. White shallow, we got some medium quakes here, but man, there's a lot of historical data here. And some big quakes, no doubt, across the region. Now that tsunami advisory was triggered as that earthquake came in as a 7.5 in the Tonga region. Didn't look like there was a tsunami produced. It was kept up for a little bit as far as the advisory goes. I did check out the National Data Buoy Center for that one buoy that was in event mode earlier. Again, this took place about between 2 and 3 my time in the morning when I was sleeping. But there was no, just barely a blip of a little water column height adjustment. Very small. We're talking microscope levels, but it did trigger and put this buoy in event mode. It's still in event mode until someone goes out or someone gets onto the network there and kind of fixes that up a little bit. But the reason why we didn't see any tsunami, because I think I was back over here prior to the trench. Let me see exactly where it was at. Yes, it was. Just back here a little bit. A lot of times these subduction zones do trigger tsunamis. In fact, that's where we see them the most, along the subduction areas. But this one's a little bit further back up along the Pacific Plate, not quite far down in there, where the potentially the most strain is. That's why I'm saying we could possibly still see some further activity within this region. So we'll watch that with that migration of activity there. But either way, a pretty good quake. Definitely shaking things up out there. But it kind of goes to show you the plate movements here. And just sometimes we see this activity kick upstream following that deeper activity. If there's enough strain built up there, it will definitely pop. So now, aside from the migration of some of these, I don't know if I want to call them aftershocks, because they're literally, this one here is maybe almost 100 miles away, and some of these other ones about 25 miles away. An area to watch here is up around the Philippine plate. We're getting lit up a little bit up here. A 5.3 in the just outside Taiwan and Japan region. That one coming in, it looks like just within the hour, 10 kilometers deep. Again, the strain, the pressure following that deeper movement. Look where it's headed, towards west-northwest, the Filipino plate right here. And technically speaking, this whole area has much more strain, much more higher accumulated slip rate than the areas down here. Kuril-Kamchatka Trench, Japan Trench, Mariana Trench, all under the gun for some potential larger scale movement. Definitely worth watching pretty closely. Up here, this earthquake off the coast of Japan into the Kuril-Kamchatka Trench was from yesterday. So we haven't really seen this light up yet, but it's an area to watch pretty closely because we've seen way too much movement here downstream, upstream, with only minimal adjustment here as we look towards the west-northwest, towards our areas where the greatest pressure is increasing following this movement along the Pacific Plate. Let's see what else we had over here. I want to zoom in just a little bit. There's that 5.3, 4.6 around the Indonesia area. And a couple other earthquakes here. One of these at least immediately following the activity there around Tonga. So a little bit of noticeable uptick around the Java Trench as well. Definitely watch it today, folks. That's a big earthquake. That's definitely a pretty big earthquake. I would have liked to see what that looked like on the graphs. But for now, looks like we got... that's going to be the 5.3 showing up there on the Japan station here. A little bit of activity still in Hawaii, Yellowstone, a little spike up in over in Southern California as well. Let's see what else we got here. The Big Island lighten up a little bit. I always like to look for the Big Island because it is kind of out there on the hot spot, right? When you get the Pacific Plate moving around like that crazily, what does it do to Hawaii? Well, you think it would definitely kick it up, right? But it takes a little time. It doesn't happen just instantly. Pahala area swarming pretty nicely, it looks like, currently this morning. And the Mauna Loa area, I've been watching that for earthquake swarming. We haven't really seen anything except for 1.7 overnight. Looks like just about the time the Tonga earthquake happened. Aside from that, things very quiet up here at the summit level. Southeast flank, they're pretty active, but not super active. Looks like about average for any daily activity. Up into the Alaska region, of course, associated with the Pacific Plate, North American Plate up to the north there. A little bit of activity and a little swarm over here to the, let's see, Pivot Point area, it looks like, 3.8. Pretty shallow movement. A couple other smaller quakes in there as well. The Trident Volcano area, looks like it's kind of calmed down a little bit. Been watching a little bit of swarming around that area. Some movement around the Cook Inlet area, and also we got this listed as Southern Alaska. Let's see here. Castle Mountain Fault, just outside of Anchorage, showing a little bit of activity as well on it today, 2.3. And typical movement up around the Alaska range. The West Coast, let's see, what do we got in Yellowstone? A little bit of activity out here, it looks like in Wyoming. I'm going to key up the Yellowstone seismograph stations here. Notice the prominent, very beautiful and large signature here. I like seeing that because it lets me know that these graphs are not squashed and that they're working properly. A lot of these stations out there in Yellowstone, they turn down the amplitude so much that you can't see anything. Look at Old Faithful here. Not even showing a blip of anything. I think if we had an asteroid impact somewhere on Earth, it wouldn't even pick that up. So it's tuned down. The amplitudes are way tuned down for that station. Also over here at Mirror Lake, just barely picked up the 7.5, 7.3 there in Tonga. But all these other stations, if you look, that signature showed up pretty nicely. So that's what I like to see. When I say that, it means that these stations are properly tuned for reading local activity. And local activity, there's a little bit at Yellowstone, very small microquakes here overnight, but that's about it. No major swarm, no magma movement. We would definitely see it if it was on here, but it's not, or if it was happening, we would definitely see it on here. We're not seeing it. So no major earthquake activity at Yellowstone currently, just that beautiful signature there with some S waves kicking around the globe, ringing the earth like a bell. Following that 7.3 in Tonga area this morning. One earthquake outside of Salt Lake City area up north. Looks like around the, where is that, Corrine, hopefully. Corrine, Utah. 1.9, 6.9 kilometers deep up there. Around the Southern Plains, Oklahoma area. See what we got for newer movement. Looks like a little 1.6 near the Morrison area, north of Stillwater. About the only earthquake so far today. This other activity from yesterday. New Madrid zone. Looks like we had one more just after midnight near Tiptonville, Tennessee. 2.1 at 7.2 kilometers. Now, over the last couple days here, we've kind of noticed a pretty good increase here for a 7-day activity event around the New Madrid zone. Most of the time, it kind of looked like this in a month period. But for the majority of the activity, it's kind of kicked up here within the last week. And it looks like that is continuing here over the last 24 hours around the New Madrid seismic zone, which sits in a very populated region. Of course, this area did see some large earthquake activity back in the 1800s, early 1800s there. Can't remember the magnitude, some uncertainty. Anywhere from, I think, a 7.3 to up to the 8 range. But I don't know if we're set up for that type of event anytime soon. The slip rate on the New Madrid zone is not super high. It's not a subduction zone, so it could be, who knows, it could be another 100 years or so or more before that thing shows enough stress to produce a big one again. It's an intraplate fault system out here, well away from any major plate boundary. So these little fault zones, really, it takes them a long time to build up some plate tectonic stress there. Into the states, or into the Texas area, nothing overnight. Most of this activity out here around Pecos, all older activity from yesterday. Into the Southern California region, looks about the same as it did last night. One earthquake outside of Victorville on the Hellendale fault system. A little fault on the North American side of the plate boundary here. No major swarms or no major unusual activity there at the Southern California region. We did see a little bit of ramping up here around the Ridgecrest area, starting to fill in a little bit around our 2019 earthquake zones. July 4th, July 5th sequence back there when we had somewhat larger earthquakes happen. Starting to fill in with some aftershock activity, including let's go to the, there we go. 1-day magnitudes. That's kind of odd here. Stand by for a second. There we go. It's kind of glitching out a little bit. 3.2 and a 2.8 overnight around the Ridgecrest area. Pretty shallow earthquake movement along with the rest of the microquake activity, filling in that zone a little bit for some aftershocks. A little bit of activity across the interchange here of all these fault systems and the major plate boundary. North of the Garlock fault zone, seeing a couple small microquakes near the Grapevine area. Most of that yesterday, but had one overnight. The San Andreas fault creeping section shows a little bit of creeping going on around this area today. Long Valley supervolcano. A couple very small microquakes, mostly from yesterday. No major swarms to take note of there in that region. And of course, Clear Lake volcanic field out here. Calpine hydrothermal operations there in effect. Some movement this morning near Lake Pillsbury and the Covelo area along the Coast Range. This earthquake up here off the coast of Eureka into the Cascadia subduction zone is from yesterday. Haven't really noticed anything more going on there overnight. Definitely something to watch pretty closely. Around the Caribbean plate, Puerto Rico area, things kind of mellowed out a little bit. Just a little couple twos. Aside from that, the majority of this cluster there is from yesterday, including that swarm up around the Puerto Rico Trench. South America, one super duper deep earthquake here. 5.0 at, man, look at that. 627 kilometers deep. Now, I believe that earthquake struck following the 7.3, which is rather odd. But if you really think about it here, considering we've seen the deeper movement in Fiji with subsequent shallower earthquake activity upstream, that definitely could make a little bit of adjustment over here, thousands of miles away. I know it seems a little impossible, but it does. Let's see here. A lot of times, though, we see the majority of activity in South America pick up following movement around these rift zones out here, the divergent boundaries, the separation here of the seafloor is all over the place around the Nazca Plate, and that ultimately adds pressure up here along this subduction zone. So just a little on the odd side to actually see that kick up like that. Let's see what else we got. The Atlantic Ocean, Mid-Atlantic Ridge, seeing a 5.0. That one coming in looks like about 7 o'clock in the morning. Let's see what else we have. Solar Ham site. Now, last night during the update, we noticed a pretty good uptick, popcorn-like feature from 3141, a sunspot that had kind of gained a little bit of complex magnetic fields, which were creating some C flares. Even reached up into the M flare category a little bit. So it was kind of surprising there to see that develop. It seemed like it developed late afternoon time frame, started getting a little bit of magnetic field activity up here as far as the closeness goes in the region. And it looks like, to me, it kind of looks like that's died down a little bit. But it just comes and goes. I mean, it just shows you how quickly this stuff can evolve and dissipate and re-evolve. But right now, I still think there's a chance of maybe seeing possibly some further flaring, although noted on this graph here that looks like that period of elevated activity died off overnight. Still seeing some low-grade C flares, but we're not popping and crackling here, kind of like popcorn, as we were last night, overnight time frame. But we'll still watch it because it's definitely facing the Earth, currently Earth-directed. Anything that does pop off, any CME, would be a bullseye shot. Nothing drastic. And uncertain on if there was a CME produced from this morning's or the overnight low-grade M flares. It doesn't look like it. Definitely not anything noteworthy. But we'll watch that pretty closely. These guys right here agreeing with me. How things have changed over the last 12 hours. Imagine that. Yes, the sun's pretty crazy, especially when you get those magnetic fields like that. They're giant, but they're not super complex there to create a major flare. At least it isn't now. It seemed like it was going to overnight with that crackling there, but looks like it briefly developed a beta gamma delta magnetic configuration, and there was quite a bit of instability there. Increased chance for an X flare. Looks like these guys have kind of elevated it again. It looks like it's died down though in the that area that was looking like it was unstable there in the smaller section up here. But we'll watch it. This is kind of what it looked like last night. And now it looks like it's kind of, it's not really growing any. It looks like it's shrinking a little bit. But we'll watch it. We'll definitely keep an eye on it for sure, because it can change in the blink of an eye, I believe. Maybe not blink of an eye, but over a couple hours, definitely. So overall, threat, 75% chance for a C flare, 25% chance for an M flare, 10% for an X flare, and a little bit of an elevated event there with protons at 5% probability. There is what I was looking at. I'm glad they took a screenshot of it. Now a threat for a major X flare, but I believe that's kind of dissipated a little bit to the current image here within this region. But again, we'll watch it. We'll see how it goes. No major coronal holes facing us currently, and the 3-day looks green across the board. Unless we get a CME here soon, it will probably stay that way. All right, folks, have a good day. It's Friday. We're going to be doing a little bit more announcement on our giveaway. Actually, I think we're going to do that this weekend. Normally, we do it towards the middle of the month. But I think me and Missy Mimi's are going to do it this weekend. Probably get that done. I'm going to be doing a member-only drawing I'll be giving away a $40, your choice. If you want a gas card, Amazon gift card, Visa, MasterCard, $40 going to be thrown in there. Or if you want a really cool mining set, I think it's an 11-piece mining set used for geology. I mean, if you like digging for rocks and that stuff, it's pretty cool, even for kids. It might be a cool gift for a kid for Christmas, maybe. But that's up for grabs. And then also, if you want some Earthmaster merchandise, it's getting cold, so a sweater, maybe some leggings or t-shirt, whatever you want, from the Earthmaster store is also up for grabs for our member drawing. Again, got to be a member. Subscribers are not included. This is for members only. Subscriber drawings now will be, we try to do those not every month like this. For our members, this is kind of just like another benefit for the members joining the channel, along with other perks. But for our subscribers and everyone in general, we do at somewhat regular intervals there. Our last one was at 75,000 subscribers. We are now at 85,000 subscribers. So our next one's going to be at 100,000 subscribers. And it's coming up. There's periods of ups and downs in terms of the subscriber count, but the channel's out there, it's gaining, and I think we'll hit 100,000 subscribers probably early next year, unless something changes. You never know. But we need about 15,000 more subscribers to hit that 100,000 subscriber mark, and this drawing is going to be pretty big. I already got a bunch of stuff that we're accumulating for prizes, and we're going to be giving away prizes to 10 people. And the top one, there's going to be different levels. I'll go into it more. I need to write it all down. It's all in my head what I want to do, what I want to give away. We're going to give different levels to the top 3, and then of course the 10 people will all get a same prize, but the top 3 will have an included extra prize for being picked, top 1, 2, and 3. So either way, it's a little ways out, so I'm not panicking yet on it, but definitely this weekend, members only drawing coming up. We'll throw everyone in a fish bowl, and we'll blindfold Missy Mimi's again. It always seems to be funner that way. And we'll pick out a member only name and see who it is. What do we got up there in Alaska, or in Canada? I'm sitting here spinning the globe and didn't even see that. What is that up there? Not listed. Come on, USGS. What's going on here? Let's go to Earthquakes Canada and see what's up. See if they got it listed. Where'd their map go? Oh, there it is. So, yeah, 4.6 kicking up here. 16:10 UTC time. So a couple hours ago, that earthquake came in around the Fort St. John, BC area. It's definitely inland, and no mention of it there from the USGS. It's, well, I don't know. It's Friday. Maybe they're taking the 3-day weekend. I don't like that. I don't like it when they shut off all the preliminary earthquake data systems for certain areas, or tune it up. USGS, if you guys need someone to look over the data, I'm available on the weekend. So give me a call. I'll help you guys out if I can, because it's pretty important to report earthquakes when they're happening, not just when there's a geologist in office. If it bugs them, look at that. We're starting to get some of that activity where I was mentioning up here around the Mariana Trench. Remember at the start of this update, we had a 5.3 in the Japan area. Now we're getting some further deep pressure here in our zone around the, it looks like it's into the Izu Trench. Around these islands, there's a couple different ridges down here, but that's deep. Deeper earthquake activity here definitely means some further movement up around the Mariana Trench if there's enough stress built up. If not, we'll continue to see deeper movement with adjustment here. So let's lighten up on cue. Just be on guard, folks. All right, we'll catch you guys a little bit later. I'm gonna enjoy the rest of the Friday here. And we'll catch you guys a little bit later on. Have a good one. Catch you guys tonight for the update. Peace out.